Hey everyone, and welcome. Let me ask you something. Ever feel like your own thoughts are, I don't know, working against you? Like you've got a little voice in your head that's not exactly on your team? Well, today, we are pulling back the curtain on an incredibly powerful tool that can help you take back control. It's called cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT for short. Let's dive right in. So, really think about that for a second. Are your thoughts helping or hurting you? It sounds like such a simple question, right? But the answer, well, that can be incredibly complex. That internal monologue, the one that's constantly running in the background, it has a huge impact on how we feel and what we do. So the real question is, how do we get a handle on it? And that is exactly where CBT comes in. The best way to think about it is like a practical, hands-on toolkit for your mind. It's a structured, scientifically backed approach that helps you see the direct link between your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions. It doesn't pretend life's challenges will just disappear. Instead, it teaches you how to break down these big, overwhelming problems into smaller, more manageable pieces by focusing on what's happening right now, today. So to really get it, let's just quickly break down the name itself. The C is for cognitive. That's everything happening inside your head, your thoughts, your beliefs, your interpretations of things. The B is for behavioral. Pretty straightforward. That's what you actually do, your actions and reactions to situations. And T, therapy, is simply the structured, proven method for working with both of those things. It's all about that powerful interplay between how you think and how you act. Okay, so where did this whole game-changing idea even come from? Well, it wasn't just dreamed up overnight. The story of CBT is actually a pretty fascinating evolution in how we understand the human mind, and it builds on decades of psychological research. So if you go way back to the early 1900s, psychology was dominated by something called behaviorism. The idea was we can only study what we can see and measure, so the focus was entirely on actions. But then fast forward to the 1950s, and you get the cognitive revolution, where psychologists started saying, hey, wait a minute, what's going on inside the brain is really important too. It wasn't until the 80s and 90s that these two big ideas finally merged, creating the powerful, integrated approach we now know as CBT. And a huge piece of this puzzle came from a psychiatrist named Dr. Aaron T. Beck. Now, Beck was originally trained as a traditional psychoanalyst, but as he was working with his patients, especially those with depression, he started noticing this really powerful pattern, a pattern that the old methods just couldn't quite explain. Beck called this pattern automatic thoughts, and that's exactly what they are. These aren't thoughts we consciously choose to think. They're these spontaneous, reflexive, deeply ingrained thoughts that just pop into our heads. And the tricky part is they often distort reality, and they happen so fast we don't even realize they're there, quietly reinforcing feelings like hopelessness or anxiety. He also identified a really specific structure to these thoughts, which he named the cognitive triad. You can think of it as this toxic, self-reinforcing loop of negativity. It's made up of three parts: a negative view of yourself, like I'm worthless, a negative view of the world, like everything is awful, and a hopeless view of the future, like nothing will ever get better. This triad became an absolute cornerstone of CBT. So this really highlights how different CBT is from older forms of therapy, like psychoanalysis. Where psychoanalysis might delve deep into your unconscious mind and your childhood for years, CBT is super structured and goal-oriented. It focuses squarely on your conscious thoughts and the problems you're facing in the present. It's designed to be a time-limited intervention, giving you practical tools you can use right away, not a years-long exploration. Okay, so we've covered what it is and where it came from. But the big question is, how does it actually work when you're in the room? Let's open up the CBT playbook and look at the core principles that make it so effective. All right, the first and maybe the most important principle is this. CBT is a team sport. It is absolutely not a passive experience where you just lie on a couch and a therapist fixes you. No way. You are an active, essential partner in the entire process. This whole teamwork idea really rests on three pillars. First, you need a solid therapeutic alliance. That means genuine trust and respect between you and your therapist. Second, it requires your active participation. You're in the driver's seat of your own progress. And third, the approach is always being personalized and tailored specifically to you. It evolves as you evolve. The second core principle is its laser focus on the present. Now look, of course your past has shaped who you are today, and CBT acknowledges that. But the real work isn't about endlessly digging up old wounds. It's about tackling the challenges that are impacting your life right here, right now. And this here and now focus is what makes it so incredibly practical. It's problem-focused, meaning you and your therapist pinpoint specific issues you want to work on. It's goal-oriented, so you set clear, measurable goals for what progress looks like. The whole point is to develop useful coping skills that you can apply immediately to see real-world results. So, all of this leads us to the ultimate, and I think the most empowering goal of cognitive behavioral therapy. You see, the point isn't to keep you in therapy forever. Far from it. The goal is to give you the skills to become your own therapist. I love how our source material puts this. It says, CBT is fundamentally educative. What does that really mean? It means the whole idea is to teach you how this stuff works, to equip you with the tools and strategies you need to manage your own mind and prevent relapse long after your sessions have ended. And the core skill you learn really boils down to this simple but incredibly powerful three-step loop. Step 1, you learn to identify those unhelpful automatic thoughts as they show up. Step 2, you learn to take a step back and evaluate them. Ask yourself, is this thought actually 100% true? Is it even useful? And finally, step 3, you learn how to respond by actively challenging and reframing that thought into something more realistic and constructive. And because this process is so structured and skill-based, it's also designed to be efficient. A typical course of CBT isn't a lifelong commitment. It generally lasts about 4 to 7 months, making it a really focused approach to creating lasting change in a relatively short amount of time. So, what's the big takeaway here? What's the bottom line? CBT is not about finding a temporary fix or a band-aid for your problems. It is about building a permanent, lifelong toolkit for your mind. It empowers you with practical skills to understand, manage, and ultimately change the way you think and feel for good. And that leaves us with one final question for you to think about. Now that you know about these automatic thoughts, what's one reoccurring thought pattern in your own life that maybe you'd like to understand a little